Manchester City's torrid form continued as they were beaten Cas by Juventus 2-0 to deal a big blow to their hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout stage. The defeat leaves them 22nd in the table and also means they've just won 1 of their last 10 games in all competitions, this being their 7th loss during that run. I think what's more staggering is, obviously 7 losses, not great, but when you're saying 1 win in 10... for Manchester City, that is simply unthinkable. No one would ever have expected that.
No, absolutely. I've never seen anything like it in football, as in a surprise of a team of how far away they were from the season before. They're unrecognisable, Manchester City. And watching them I watched the game against Juve just because I wanted to watch them and think, and to be fair, they did what City do, keep the ball a lot, move it around. First half quite dominant, and Juve literally a real flat back four, made it difficult, really didn't offer a lot, Juve. But when they collapsed, it was literally, it was very fast how Juve, once they scored, I thought Man City looked like a five-a-side team with no potency. And I tell you, one of their biggest problems, I'm not sure, I really am not convinced that not only Guardiola, whether he'll be there, but whether Haaland will sign a new deal. Because he was non-existent in the game. He actually, look, they'd done a man-to-man marking job on him, but he didn't make much effort in trying to lose them or get away from the player to have, he had one half a chance, but he's living off crumbs. The moment it becomes a problem for City is that all the time he was getting goals and they're winning things, everything is fine. But when he's getting to the stage now, they're not winning and he doesn't look like scoring, I think it's going to be really hard to convince him to sign on again another contract. If there's other clubs out there in European football where he might think he's better suited to now, because Haaland was really poor in the game. And there was other poor performances, but they look like a five-a-side team.
But in general then, that's one performance that you're analysing there. In this run of 10 games, what is the biggest problem for them? We keep talking about the loss of Rodri, and they have got defensive issues. They're missing a number of defenders as well. But this is a team that should be capable of dealing with some of those losses. I know some are, as we say, with Rodri, perhaps more obvious in terms of the big miss. But surely a team like Manchester City should be able to deal with injuries because they should have the squad capable.
Okay. My answer to that was too many players have dropped off their levels.
Okay.
If you're looking at Phil Foden, which is obviously the Football Writers Player of the Year last year, which he was and was a worthy winner. Then you look at Bernardo Silva, that yes, he's been a great player for City. He's another one. I think Kyle Walker falls into that bracket as well as a defender. I'd also probably put Jack Grealish in there. Jack has found it very, very difficult. He played in midfield. He didn't play as a winger in midweek. They had Doco on the left and he played in central midfield. The midfield was Rico Lewis, him and Gundogan. And sort of De Bruyne was a little bit more forward. That was a non-tackling midfield.
Obviously, with some of those players, they would have been involved in the Euros. So is there an element of fatigue that could be a factor that we're not necessarily talking about as much? And I know that you can say, look, other teams had also other players who were playing at the Euros and they're not being as impacted, perhaps. But when you have this injury issues as well, is that part of the problem? Fatigue? What I don't understand is you can have one player dropping off, as in they're not playing at their peak level. But how can it have that sort of domino effect where so many are not reaching their level?
I think there's more than one problem at City. It's not just that. I think it's a valid reason. I think there's more problems.
Like behind the scenes?
Could be, but there's certainly the drop-off has been alarming. And I'm watching a team really struggle with belief. How can you say Man City don't look like they've got belief at the moment? So many of their players are doing things that are unrecognisable. And even some of the players like Ake, not as good when he's been called upon. Guardiola really struggled, whether he's been left back, centre half. You could put Akanji. He was outstanding in the summer for Switzerland, Akanji.
But this is what I don't understand, how it's a collective. I get one or two players might just have a bad start to a season or bad run of form, but when it feels like a collective, like you said, it just feels as there's got to be more to it. And whether that's just disharmony that's going on that we're not quite aware of, I don't know.
I'll tell you what compounds it as well. Okay, we're confused, Nat. We're confused about it all. The manager seems even more confused.
Yeah.
listening to his interviews and reading the stuff, I'm sure we're going to talk about it later today, or about Guardiola, what is happening with him, because he feels like in the middle of all this is a manager that, I'm going to use a word, bumfazzled.
Excuse me? What?
Bumfazzled. He's bumfazzled.
Have you swallowed a thesaurus?
Yes, I have. I found out this word in midweek, and I think it's a great word to use.
How are we spelling this? Bum or bun?
Bumfazzled.
Oh.
Okay? Or fuzzled. Bumfuzzled. It means perplexed, confused, bewildered.
Sorry, I thought this was like a new
Right,
school lingo that Rocco's taught you or something.
Right? It means he's totally, all of them, he's confused, he's perplexed, he's bewildered by what is happening. And you don't trust me, you only have to read his interviews. This guy is really all over the place at the minute about trying to find solutions to Manchester City, and he's far better placed than any of us in media to have the answers, but he looks absolutely all over the place in the way he's speaking, the way he's acting, his team selection.
Well, you're right, he's spoken about the fact that he, although feels fine, his sleep is being affected, his diet too. There's lots of things that are going on, all based on what is happening to his side right now. They're not in action, of course, until tomorrow when they take on Manchester United at the Etihad in the Manchester Derby. A game we'll, of course, look ahead to, but there's a lot already in the papers featuring on that. So we'll obviously talk about that a little bit later on in more detail. But as I mentioned...
Did you like my word? Did you like it?
Bumfuzzled.
Bumfazzled.
Fuzzled.
Fuzzled.
I have never heard that before in my life.
No, nor have I. I heard it midweek, but I really like the word.
It's quite nice. It's quite a polite one. More,
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind that one. I'm not sure I'll use it regularly.
I didn't know it. I promise you I didn't know it.
I'm not sure I'll use it regularly.
No, I've never used it. Only on today.
Maybe we should ask our listeners that, if there's any particular words that we should be using more regularly that we're not, please keep them clean.
I love
Why
your
not
words.
let us know? Well, there you go.
I've really got into words I've learned. So.
Facts. Just as with facts, that's why. But why not enlighten us, educate us, go down the Simon Jordan route? Yes.
And the meaning, obviously.
Yeah, but please keep it clean. And we'll do it. We'll obviously have to Google it to make sure that you're not tricking us with these naughty words that might sneak through. But why not? So remind us again, what's the word?
Bumfuzzled.
Okay.